In today's episode, we'll talk about characters that were initially meant to make an appearance in the GTA games, but were ultimately cut. We'll take a few of them, we'll determine how do we know that they were initially meant to be included, so what are the leftovers, we'll look at what we do know about these characters, who they were, would they give us missions, what role would they play, and then we'll speculate a bit about them, cause it usually is just as interesting. Oh, and let me just say, Dark Hell and Mr. Moffat, they're obviously interesting, but everyone knows everything about them, so we'll skip those two characters. Alex Thornton. Yes, I know, Alex Thornton does make an appearance in GTA, and to be precise, in The Ballad of Gay Tony. However, I want to talk about him because, in my opinion, he was meant to play a bigger role than what is in the final version of the DLC. Alex is being displayed on our screens just for a couple of seconds in the first mission. As we remember, the ballad kicks off with the bank heist, conducted by Nico along with his Irish buddies. After the heist, we witness Luis, the protagonist of the DLC, being questioned by some agent who wanted to find out what exactly happened, how the robbers look, etc, etc. Luis did not want to get involved in this mess, as he had more important things to worry about. Like, for example, getting his boss out of multi-million debts. In any case, Luis, in order to shake off the agent, lied that he was stressed out and does not remember a lot from the event. The agent, realizing that he won't find out much, in a bit of an act of desperation, gave Luis his business card and requested he be called if Luis remembered anything.
Yeah, like I said, man, everything's a little fussy.
Well, if you think of anything else, Mr. Lopez.
Yeah, sure, I'll give you a call.
In this video, as opposed to Luis, the business card is the main object of our interest. That card is, for some reason, very detailed. It has the personal data of the agent on it. You know, such a little and insignificant thing. And it's so detailed? That doesn't add up. From the card, we can find out that Thornton is a CIA agent, or IAA agent, as the developers decided to name this agency in GTA 5. What's more, this guy is not just any agent, because in fact, he is the director of this whole institution. And I'm not exactly an expert on the subject, and I don't know what's the role distribution in such agencies, but it seems pretty strange to me that the boss of a serious government agency takes care of things such as questioning witnesses at a crime scene. But I don't know, maybe that's nothing out of the ordinary. If you know anything about it, the comment section belongs to you. Either way, it's very suspicious. Rockstar designed such an important person and made his card with a lot of details. As for a barely visible for a casual player object that appears for a couple of seconds. It seems to me as if Rockstar was thinking about a thread concerning this heist or some legal problems of Luis and Tony. You know, perhaps some new evidence concerning the heist was meant to come out to light as the story progressed. And that agent would just want to question Luis again. Or maybe we would get a similar thread to the one with Tenpenny from GTA San Andreas. Thornton would find evidence for all the stunts Luis was doing in the ballad, while working with Yusuf Amir, for instance. Or perhaps Thornton would start investigating Tony due to his connections to the Ancelotti Mafia, which would result in Luis having to run some errands for him in exchange for not exposing the evidence to the prosecutor. So simply put, for not putting Luis in jail. It would be the same motive as in San Andreas, where Tenpenny has leverage over CJ and makes him do some risky jobs that he does not want to take care of himself. That's why I think that this character was partially cut, cause okay, I know he's in the game, but so what? If there's a big probability that about 95% of his thread was scrapped, they could just as well put a random cop in the first mission. It would barely make a difference. Now, GTA 3 and a character named JJ the Pimp. The Pimp could obviously be met, as some of you probably already guessed, in the Red Light District, the errata capital of Liberty City, if you will. JJ the Pimp was meant to give us an odd job. It's also not difficult to guess that it was meant to have something to do with pimping and prostitution. I feel like the developers plan to make in GTA 3 something very similar to the pimping mission in GTA San Andreas, in which we have to drive hookers around town and ensure their safety whenever a customer gets overexcited. Speaking of JJ the Pimp, we should debunk one potential theory, saying that this character was the initial concept of Luigi Gordarelli. You know, some could think of such a scenario. Since JJ the Pimp was cut, and in the final game we actually do meet and work for a pimp named Luigi, then surely over the process of the game's development, JJ the Pimp became a pimp directly working for the Leone Mafia, Luigi, in order for the story to make more sense. And yes, it makes sense, but considering that in the design document for GTA 3, both Luigi and JJ the Pimp are mentioned, it's safe to say that Rockstar planned for them to be separate characters from the beginning. Brucey Kivitz. the character that we could not leave out of today's list. Rubbed with Tunisian olive, bald savage with bull shark testosterone excess. Brucey Kibitz. But we won't find Brucey physically in GTA 5. All we got left of him in the game is his website, on which he advertises his amazing steroids. We can also see there how Brucey would look in GTA 5, and we can clearly see that all those steroids did not have a positive effect on his appearance. Anyway, we were meant to meet Brucey in GTA 5 in one of the cut missions. I'm talking about the social networking mission, which we would complete for Devin Weston. Its objective was to steal Brucey's car, an exotic red Stinger to be precise. All of it would fit the story really well, because I think that anyone who played through GTA 5 remembers the missions in which we steal cars for Devin. In any case, the solution of the cut mission, social networking, looked as follows. Franklin would first find a hot chick, would set up a Life Invader account for her, so GTA 5's parody of Facebook, and then, using her profile, he would hit on Brucey, eventually arranging a date. At the meeting, the girl would pretend that she's very interested in him and that she'd like a bit more than innocent hugs. Once Brucey picks up this bait and the pair would start enjoying themselves, then Trevor would come out of hiding and begin to take photos of him. This way, he would draw Brucey's attention, which was to be utilized by Franklin, who would quickly steal Brucey's ride and then bring it back to Devin. Actually, in my opinion, the solution of the mission is overcomplicated, and I'm not surprised really that it was scrapped. What's funny is that the Stinger nonetheless appears in the Pac-Man mission, in which we deliver all the cars for them to be sold. It's there out of nowhere, and the game doesn't explain how we got a hold of it. All we could think of is that Lamar boosted it, but this theory is quite stretched and unconfirmed. What's interesting is the license plate that the Stinger has, which says Alpha Dog. This, yet again, clearly references our favorite steroid junkie, who loved all this alpha male talk and how big of a tough guy he is.
Sweet. I got you, man. I'm big, but I'm also fast.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, can you show me that again?
Anyway, Brucey, similarly to the social networking mission, didn't make it to the final game. Thankfully, not completely, because Brucey fully returns in GTA Online, where he appears in a Diamond Casino thread, and he can sell the aforementioned testosterone to a player. Another interesting character from the document is Major Hale. He was a guy from the military who was presumably meant to give us missions. Interestingly enough, at the also eventually unimplemented military base in Shoreside Vale. What's also interesting is the unreleased artwork that depicts how Hale looked. It's unknown what his thread was about. However, personally, I think he could play a similar role to Jerry Martinez from GTA Vice City Stories. You know, a story about a corrupted serviceman who was missing a bit of adrenaline, so he decided to try his luck in the criminal underworld. In the final version of GTA 3, for the first time in the whole GTA series, we meet another serviceman, Phil Cassidy. I mention that because there are reasoned suspicions that the character of the Major has been redesigned and eventually implemented in a modified and probably very limited instance in the shape of Phil Cassidy. Phil is also from the military. He also hangs out at the military base, or let's say in something that is meant to imitate mini barracks, where he sells us military-grade weapons. What's more, I told you in a previous case that it's rather impossible that JJ the Pimp was the initial version of Luigi, because both of them were mentioned in the document. Here, the situation is completely different. The document does not mention anything on Phil, so it's quite likely that Major Hale was squeezed into the final version, but in a different form in the shape of Phil Cassidy. And that would be it for today. Let me know, which characters would you like to see in the actual games the most? And would you add anything to my speculation? I'm waiting for your thoughts in the comments. Meanwhile, I'm saying goodbye. Take care and see you soon.